The following graph represents the height above the ground versus time at a resort as Thomas rides his favorite ski slope. So what you want to realize is on the x-axis we have time. So anything having to do with time is our x, and then the height is our y-axis. So that's really our y. So you want to keep that in mind. State the domain. Domain means x. In this case, that's talking about time. In your own words, what the domain represents. So the domain means how far along the x-axis do we go? Well, we start at 0 and we end all the way over here at 6, and that 6 is minutes. So my domain, which is time, we always set it up the same way. Remember, time is in place of our x, starts at 0 and goes all the way to 6. So there's my domain, and what does that represent? That looks like it's the time Thomas, can't spell, goes up and down the mountain. Something like that, okay? State the range, that means y. In this case, that's our height. And in your own words, what the range represents. So how high and low does our graph go? Our graph is down here at 0, and then it goes all the way up here, which, watch your scale, looks like we are at 90. That's the highest point on my graph, that's at 90. So my range will be from 0 to 90. And what does that represent? That's the height of the mountain. Okay. Now, what might Thomas have been doing for the interval 0 to 2? Now, notice that's t from 0 to 2. So that's t, that's x, so that's right here. So this right here, what do you think on that part of the graph? What do you think that he's doing in the terms of skiing down the mountain? Well, I'm thinking that from 0 to 2 minutes, he could be riding the ski lift up. Something like that. Now, what was his average rate of change? That means slope. That means we need 2 coordinates. If t is 0, I need a coordinate from the graph. That's the point 0, 0. If t is 2, I need a coordinate from the graph. When t is 2, the y-coordinate is 90. Now I have 2 coordinates. Now I can do my slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's 90 over 2, which is 45. We need proper units. On top, that 90 is measuring the height in meters. Over, on the bottom are my t's, which are measured in minutes. So that's the average rate of change. For part D, what might Thomas have been doing for the interval 2 to 6? So from 2 to 6 minutes, that's probably when he's skiing down the mountain. So you want to write something about him skiing down the mountain. And what was his average rate of change? Well, that means slope. So again, we need coordinates. When t is 2, we're at 90. We already know that. And then when t is 6, right here, the y-coordinate is 0. So now I do my slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Negative 90 over 4 is negative 22.5. The top is measured in meters per minute. Notice that we're going down the mountain, so the slope is negative. There. Question 4. The graph below represents the height of a ball over the interval from 0 to 8. That's your time on the x-axis. After how many seconds was the ball 12 feet off the ground? Explain your answer. 12 feet off the ground? When was the ball 12 feet off the ground? Never. So the ball was never 12 feet off the ground. Okay? What does your answer indicate about the range of this function? Range means y. If I'm looking at this graph, my y's, the lowest point on my graph is at 0, and the highest point on my graph is at 11. So 12 is not in the range. And there you go.